Well, hello, NEDA ministry leaders. Here we are on the last day of June. And now, looking back over the last 4 months, it certainly has been a difficult season. There's been so much to deal with, so many decisions to make, just so much going on in our churches, in our country. And I know for many of us, this has produced a great deal of weariness, of body and soul. So I hope today to encourage you with a reminder of an encounter that Jesus had on the Sea of Galilee with his disciples. In Matthew 14, we read about Jesus feeding the 5,000, a phenomenal ministry event. I'm sure the disciples were overwhelmed seeing Jesus work in such powerful ways and getting to be part of it. And immediately after that event, the text says that Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and he sent them out into the lake. So his disciples begin to cross the Sea of Galilee. And as they go across, it's tough going. The wind comes up, waves get huge, and their boat is buffeted, and they are struggling to reach their destination. The disciples are working harder and harder, but they are seeing less and less effect for their labor. I'm sure they're weary, and I'm sure they're frustrated. They may have even been upset with Jesus for sending them out onto the lake without him. I think that many followers of Jesus, and many pastors in particular, feel this way right now. Like we're working against the wind, facing issue after issue, laboring hard, but struggling to get where we want to go. That kind of work really does produce weariness. What we need to know in this season of weariness is that Jesus intended to send his disciples out into the lake, knowing full well that a storm would come up. That was not a surprise to Jesus. Jesus purposely sent them into that situation. And he has purposely sent us, his followers, into the situation we find ourselves in. Why? Why does Jesus do this? Well, as we look at the text in Matthew 14, it becomes obvious that one, Jesus intended to meet his disciples, to come to them personally during this time of weariness. And also, he wanted to teach them. He wanted to grow their faith. And there was something about that situation which produced a ripe environment for their faith to grow. There was something that they needed to learn, that they had to be in that situation to learn. And so Jesus sent them. And he's sending us. See, it's in this place of weariness, out on the lake, buffeted by the waves, that's when the disciples saw Jesus walking to them on the water. And they didn't recognize him at first. They thought he was a ghost, and they were terrified. But Jesus immediately spoke to them. He spoke to them words of comfort. And his words of comfort are interesting. His words of comfort were not, everything's going to be okay. He didn't immediately tell them he was going to calm the storm. He didn't give them further instruction about how they should work differently or work harder to get through the storm. Now, his words of comfort were quite simple. He said, "Take heart, it is I, don't be afraid." Take heart, it is I, don't be afraid. He simply reminded them that it was him, that he was with them in the storm. And that same Jesus is with us till the end of the age. And he's also saying to us, take heart, it is I, don't be afraid. Jesus is with us in the storm, and we must take heart based on that truth. Peter clearly did take some heart based on that statement, though he was not yet fully convinced it was actually Jesus, because Peter said to Jesus, if it's really you, if it's you, command me to come out to you. Jesus says one word in response. He says, come. It's a command and an invitation. Come. Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Come to me, you who are buffeted by the wind and the waves, who are tired and fearful. Come. Peter steps out of the boat. He walks on the water to Jesus. I mean, what an amazing experience. The waves which had previously buffeted the boat that Peter was in, causing great weariness, causing great fear, these same waves he now walks upon as he looks at Jesus. Now, I don't know if any of you have walked on water, but I'm sure you have had experiences that you can think back to where you trusted Jesus and he did in you and through you more than you could ask or imagine. You've had moments of seeing Jesus work. You've seen him save marriages. You've seen him save people from addiction. You've seen him heal sick people, change eternal destinies. You've experienced him working through you. And it's in those moments that the storms of life seem trivial compared to the greatness and the goodness of Jesus, don't they? I mean, oh, that we could stay in those moments. But like Peter, we are easily distracted by the wind and the waves which have not ceased. Fear rushes back in, and we can find ourselves sinking, even though just a moment ago we had been walking on the waves with Jesus. Old sin patterns that we thought had been left behind can easily resurface. Our outlook on life can almost become hopeless. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe the tension and turmoil in our country is producing a level of anxiety, of fear, or of anger within you, and you feel once again buffeted by the wind and the waves. Maybe the uncertainty about the future of your church, keeps you up at night as you worry what will happen in this season to the people that God's called you to care for. Maybe you're facing financial or health issues, and it just seems difficult to remain hopeful during this season. It's in this moment of desperation as Peter is sinking that he cries out to Jesus. Simple words, Lord, save me. Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus' hand is stretched out and firmly grasps Peter, who is sinking, and he pulls him up. Jesus immediately responded to Peter, and he immediately responds to our cries. He is with us, remember? He is with us, and he is with us to save. You and I will not be overcome by the wind and the waves that come at us in life, because this same Savior is with us, and he hears every cry. And then Jesus said to Peter, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" I think here is why Jesus made the disciples to get into the boat, knowing full well he was sending them into a storm. He wanted to grow their faith in him. He was greater than any storm they would ever face. He is greater than any storm we will ever face. He wanted them to see that, to see his greatness, to see his power, to see his goodness. He wanted them to learn to fix their eyes on him, to trust him, not to doubt, not to fear, but to walk with him through the storm, and he wants that for us as well. And when Peter and Jesus got back into the boat, the wind ceased. The test was over. Jesus was fully in charge all along, and the storm did not last forever. The season that we are in now also will not last forever. We are being tested, and Jesus is fully in charge. Friends, my desire for us in this season is that the wind and the waves that create such weariness, I pray that those things will not control our minds and our hearts in this season. I pray that we will hear the voice of Jesus telling us, "Take heart, it is I. Don't be afraid. I'm with you in the storm." I pray that we will step out in faith with Jesus. For that's what he wants. He wants us to trust him, to walk with him, to do what is only possible by his strength. And I pray that we will not doubt. We will not grow fearful. But I also pray that when we do, for all of us at times do, I pray that we will immediately cry out to him and experience his salvation, which is ever present. I pray that our trust in Jesus will grow as we experience his faithful love and his redeeming grace. I pray that whatever comes our way over these next couple summer months, that we will fix our eyes on Jesus and we will walk with him. God's best to you all. Have a great summer.